Okay, we got comparisons. This is the 590 piston that I took out of, this was in the straight gassed 590 that I got. This is a 620 piston. Now I've already compared these two and they're the same. The only thing that's different about these two pistons is one has a single ring, the other has a double ring. But I just got this. This is a Little Red Barn piston, and it is the pop-up 620 piston. So, a lot of times whenever these companies offer a pop-up piston, what they're offering is a standard piston that they make for that saw with a pop-up cut out of it. That's not the same. The reason it's not the same is because you're actually losing volume because they've cut stuff away. A real pop-up is going to have this larger portion. This will be higher than the standard piston. Now, a lot of you guys might say, well, you can always cut the squish and lower the cylinder further onto your pop-up piston and you'll still get the benefits of the pop-up piston. And you're right, on most saws you can do that. However, on the 590 and 620, the skirt of the piston is not long enough to make such a thing happen. So what I am here to do, and I just held back a giggle because I already know something. What I am here to do is tell you guys if this is a real pop-up piston or if it's just a flim flam sham dam. I don't know what you can make out. Hard for me to make it out too. So the cutaway does in fact come even with the top of the 620 piston. However, the 620 piston is domed. And so it's as if they've got just a heavier dome on this. But let me break out the calipers and we shall see. The height of both pistons. .91 on the factory 620 piston. 41.91. And on the Little Red Barn piston, .42. So it is a 1/2 millimeter taller. So I am excited about this because this should offer pretty considerable extra compression to the 590 or the 620 or the 590 or the 600 or the 601 Shindawa. There's a bunch of them that use this piston. The skirt seems to be exactly the same length, which is kind of bum. No, actually the skirt's slightly shorter on the Little Red Barn piston. Slightly shorter. So but I think this is going to be a good piston to work with. Trust me, I know all the stuff about Little Red Barn pistons. There's nothing you can say about Little Red Barn pistons that I haven't already heard. Me personally, I have not had one fail. So, they do burn up easily. It's pretty soft aluminum, I think. So it did burn up more easily than I had thought. So my goal is going to be, I'm going to use this piston in the 590 that I'm going to build as my, my test mule 590. And we'll see how it does. I think it's going to offer considerable, a noticeable difference, and it be worthwhile in doing, especially if you add that in conjunction with a base gasket delete. I think it will work out for a lot of people with their 590s. Am I going to build it that way? Base gasket delete and pop-up piston and see how it does? No. I can also cut the base, and I will. I'm going to try and get as much as I can out of the 590 cylinder. And, I had said that the 620, whenever I do my direwolf, my personal direwolf, and I'm going to put a 620 piston and cylinder on it. Boy, it's going to be hard for me not to go ahead and put that pop-up piston in it. We'll do this as a basis for the 590 build. And I'll use the regular 620 piston in the in my direwolf, and we'll see if we can get the test mule with this pop-up piston and some radical porting. We'll see if we can get it close to what the 620 is going to be with it being ported. That's the goal of all this. I want to see if we can stretch out that 590 to be a lot more than what it is from the factory. Because from the factory, it's just right at 4 horsepower, I think. It's just, I mean, it's normal. It's normal for a farm and ranch 60cc saw to do that, But I want to see, I'd like to get this thing up in the 6 horsepower range or more, 6.5 horsepower. I don't know if I'm ever going to be able to do that. I don't know. But we'll have the test mule for that, and it will stay as a 590. And I'll see how far I can push it. And hopefully we can get it to run and be really good. We'll see. But yeah, if you've been on the fence about whether or not you should buy one of these Little Red Barn pistons, I'm not saying you should or shouldn't. What I am saying is, yes, it's a legitimate pop-up piston. And it seems like it's going to offer substantial compression over what you would get with your basic setup. Because you've got 2 additional benefits with this. All right, so this is a 620 setup, which means it's got 2 rings. That alone gives you more compression. Multiple rings gives you more compression because it just allows less to escape and blow by, right? But it also has that pop-up on it. So for a 590, barring that there's no problems with this thing like exploding, because I've heard stuff, right? But I've never experienced that. So I don't want to talk bad about the company. Until something really happens to me, they're a perfectly acceptable aftermarket solution. But we'll give this a try. And hopefully with that 590, we can really get it to do something decent, Maybe it'll really pull that 36-inch bar. I don't know.